Well, we made it. The final deep dive in our LLM series.
Wow, yeah,
Feels kind of bittersweet, honestly.
it does.
We started with the absolute basics, right? And now we're here, talking about training these massive models, deploying them, all that.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
Definitely leveled up our LLM knowledge. But the thing is, the field's not slowing down.
Not even close.
It's all about what's coming next. And that's what we're diving into today, the future of LLMs.
Absolutely. It's evolving so fast.
Honestly, it's evolving so fast that you might be sitting there thinking, wait, I'm still trying to process all the stuff we talked about before.
Yeah, it can be a lot to take in.
And that's totally fair. But today, we're stepping back. Big picture time.
Right.
We're not getting lost in the weeds. We're thinking about how LLMs are going to transform industries, maybe even, change the world as we know it.
That's the potential we're talking about.
It goes beyond just, oh, look, it can write a poem. This is about challenging what we even think intelligence is.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
It really is. So, ready to dive into the specifics?
Let's do it.
Okay. Remember that concept we talked about, context length?
Yeah, how much text the LLM can handle at once.
Right. Current models, they can deal with thousands of tokens, which, on paper, sounds like a lot.
It is impressive.
It is, but it's still a limitation. Like, imagine trying to graph a complex legal contract
Uh-huh.
or a dense research paper, but you can only read a few sentences at a time.
You'd never get the full picture.
Exactly. You miss the nuances, the connections.
The big idea.
And that's what LLMs are dealing with right now. Glimpses, but not the whole story.
It's like they're peeking through a keyhole.
Perfect analogy. So how are researchers trying to solve this context length problem?
Well, one way is by getting creative with the attention mechanisms. Remember we talked about those?
Yeah, linear attention, sliding window, all that.
Right. It's all about making attention more efficient, letting LLMs process longer sequences without needing, a supercomputer the size of a city.
So instead of a tiny spotlight, we're giving them floodlights.
Exactly. Illuminate the whole stage.
Love it. What else is in the works?
Well, there's research on giving LLMs something like a working memory,
Oh, interesting.
like a notepad where they can jot down key points, refer back to them later.
That makes a lot of sense. Like for us, it's the difference between trying to cram everything into short-term memory versus actually having a system.
Right, a system for storing and retrieving.
Okay, so that's working memory. Anything else?
Yeah, another approach is using hierarchical models.
Hierarchical?
Basically, they break down processing into levels. Like, first they summarize each paragraph, then they use those summaries to understand the whole chapter, and so on.
So it's like tackling the information in chunks.
Exactly. Avoid getting bogged down in every single detail.
So with all these advancements, are we talking about LLMs that can actually comprehend entire books?
That's the goal.
Have a conversation that lasts for hours and remembers every point?
It's the direction we're heading in.
Write a novel that has like a coherent plot, believable characters.
It's all about expanding those capabilities.
Wow. But hold on, it's not just about longer text, right?
Right. It gets even wilder.
What do you mean?
Think about multimodal LLMs.
Multimodal.
Models that don't just deal with text. They can handle images, audio, videos, all kinds of data.
Okay, now that is mind-blowing.
It really is.
So we're saying LLMs could not just read books, but watch movies, listen to music, maybe even create their own art.
We're talking about LLMs that can perceive the world through multiple senses.
It's almost like, well, not almost. It is like giving them senses.
It's about breaking down those barriers between different types of information.
We've seen hints of this, right? Like with DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, creating images from text prompts.
Right, those are early examples.
But you're saying this could be built directly into LLMs,
That's the idea.
making them even more powerful.
And versatile.
Okay, so imagine like LLMs writing captions for your photos that are actually funny.
Uh-huh.
Or answering questions about a movie scene, taking into account what's said and what's happening visually.
It's about understanding the world in a richer, more nuanced way.
This is a lot to process. And just when I think it can't get any more futuristic, we have agent-based LLMs. I
Right.
talked about reasoning before, remember? Retrieval-Augmented Generation.
Yeah.
This takes it to a whole other level.
It does. Instead of just finding and processing info, these LLMs can actually interact with the world.
They can use tools, achieve goals.
That's the difference.
Okay, hold on. How is that different from, like, a really good AI assistant, like the ones we have now?
It's about autonomy.
Autonomy, how so?
These LLMs, they're not just following instructions, they're working towards goals, understanding what their actions actually mean, maybe even making decisions on their own.
Okay, paint me a picture. What would this look like in real life?
Imagine an LLM that doesn't just book your flight, but actually considers your preferences,
Okay, yeah.
your budget, your schedule. Finds the best option, not just the first one that pops up.
So more than just following a set of rules.
Much more.
Okay, what else?
Picture an LLM controlling a robot.
Like in a factory.
Yeah, or a warehouse, or even your home. Adapting to changes, solving problems.
So not just retrieving information anymore, they're actually doing things.
Exactly. It's about taking action.
And the potential, it's huge, right?
It is. LLMs managing your calendar, scheduling meetings,
Wow.
maybe even negotiating on your behalf. Think about it.
LLMs doing scientific research, like actually formulating hypotheses.
Yeah, designing experiments, analyzing the results.
It's almost like giving them agency. They're not just tools anymore.
That's a good way to put it.
They're participants.
And that brings up a whole other set of considerations.
Oh, yeah.
Safety, reliability. We need to make sure these agent-based LLMs are aligned with our values.
Because if we're giving them this much power,
We need to be very careful.
that makes sense. So amazing possibilities, but definitely ethical challenges too.
It's a balance.
It always is with new technology, isn't it?
It is, but the potential is huge.
It really is. And listeners, if you thought that was a lot, buckle up. There's more to come as we explore other trends shaping the future of LLMs.
You know, all these amazing things we've been talking about, longer context, multimodal LLMs, agents, it all takes a ton of computing power.
Yeah, it's like we build this incredible machine and then realize, oh, wait, we need a power plant to run it.
Exactly. And that brings us to another really important area of research efficiency.
Efficiency.
Yeah, we need to make LLMs less resource intensive, streamline their design, make them more accessible.
So instead of needing a supercomputer, maybe you could run a really advanced LLM on, like, a gaming PC.
That's the dream. And researchers are looking into some fascinating approaches. Remember we talked about alternatives to the transformer architecture?
Oh, yeah, like state space models, RWKV.
Right, exactly. Hyena, all these are ways of trying to get similar performance, maybe even better performance, but with less computational overhead.
So it's like designing a car engine that's not only powerful, but also super fuel efficient.
That's a great way to think about it.
We want to get the most out of these models without, draining the world's energy supply.
Absolutely. And this efficiency thing, it's also about making LLMs more available to everyone. Right now, it's mainly big tech companies that can develop the most advanced models. They've got the resources.
Yeah, they've got the Jensen server farms.
Exactly. But imagine a future where researchers, startups, even individual developers could experiment with these tools.
That would be incredible. I mean, talk about democratizing access to powerful technology.
It would unleash a wave of innovation.
It really would. But let's talk about something else that often gets lost in all the excitement about, bigger models, more data,
What's that?
reasoning.
Ah, yes.
Even with all these advancements, LLMs still struggle with really complex logic, like cause and effect, planning ahead.
It's a big challenge. One of the key things that separates current AI from real human intelligence.
So we can make models that write like humans, but they don't really think like humans yet.
That's a good way to put it.
It's like you can parrot back facts, but that doesn't mean you understand them.
Right. You need that deeper level of understanding.
And that's where research into a logical inference comes in, right?
Exactly. We need to go beyond just pattern matching. Give LLMs the ability to actually reason about the world.
So an LLM that could not just write like a lawyer, but actually think like a lawyer.
That's the idea. Analyze a legal case, understand the laws, build a logical argument.
Wow. And this ability to reason, it's crucial for agent-based LLMs too, right?
Absolutely.
If we want them to make decisions in the real world.
They need to understand the consequences, anticipate problems, adjust their plans.
It's the difference between following a set of instructions and actually being able to improvise.
Exactly. Adapt to new situations, come up with creative solutions.
And that brings us to another area where LLMs need to improve: planning.
Right.
They can follow instructions, but real planning is more than that. It's about setting a goal, breaking it down, thinking ahead.
It is.
Like, it's not just knowing the steps to bake a cake, it's knowing what to do if you're missing an ingredient.
Perfect analogy.
And you need that kind of planning for all sorts of things, right?
You do.
Managing your schedule, controlling a robot, composing music. If you want to be successful, you need a plan.
Absolutely. It's essential.
So far, we've been talking a lot about the technical side of things, but let's switch gears for a minute. Think about the user experience.
Okay.
Right now, interacting with an LLM can feel a little impersonal.
How so?
It's like talking to a super smart stranger. They know a ton, but they don't really know you.
Right. They don't know your preferences, your goals.
Exactly. And that's where personalized LLMs come in.
Personalized LLMs. Tell me more.
Imagine models that are tailored to you.
Tailored.
Yeah, they understand your writing style, your interests, they learn from your past interactions.
That's interesting.
It's like instead of a generic search engine, you have a personal research assistant.
Someone who knows what you're looking for.
Exactly. And personalized LLMs could go even further.
How so?
Help you write in your own voice, generate content that aligns with your values, even act as a creative partner.
It's like an extension of your own mind, an AI collaborator.
Exactly.
That's a powerful idea.
It is. But it also raises some questions.
Like what?
How do we make sure these models respect privacy?
Right. That's crucial.
And how do we prevent them from just amplifying our biases, creating echo chambers?
Those are important considerations. We need to make sure personalization is used for good.
Absolutely. We need to be thoughtful about the potential downsides. And that brings us to another key area, evaluation.
Evaluation. You mean how we measure how good an LLM is?
Exactly. Right now, we rely a lot on metrics like perplexity, BLDU,
Yeah, the standard benchmarks.
but they don't tell the whole story, do they?
No, they don't.
It's like judging a book just on its grammar without considering the plot or the characters.
Exactly. We need better ways to evaluate things like reasoning, planning, creativity.
So evaluation methods that look at the big picture.
Exactly.
And we need to think about the ethical implications, too.
Right. Fairness, bias.
Are these models being used responsibly? Those are questions you can't answer just by looking at a perplexity score.
Absolutely. It's about looking at the whole system.
It's like evaluating a student, not just on their test scores, but also on their criticalization and ethics.
That's a good way to put it. And that leads us to another important topic, security.
Security. How does that relate to LLMs?
Well, as these models become more powerful and we integrate them into more systems, they also become bigger targets.
So, like someone hacking into an LLM and stealing its code.
That's one possibility. But there are other vulnerabilities too, things like prompt injection.
Prompt injection, what's that?
It's where someone uses carefully crafted endpoints to trick the LLM into doing something it's not supposed to do.
Like revealing sensitive info or generating harmful content.
Exactly.
So as LLMs get more powerful, we need to make them more secure too.
Absolutely. It's a constant challenge.
It's an arms race, really,
It is. We need researchers, developers, and policymakers all working together.
to make sure these technologies are used safely and responsibly.
Exactly.
Well, after exploring all these trends and challenges, I have to say the future of LLMs is both exhilarating and a bit daunting.
I agree. We're on the verge of some truly remarkable breakthroughs, but we need to be cautious.
We need to make wise choices.
Exactly. LLMs have the potential to transform our world for the better, but it's up to us to make sure that happens.
Listeners, if your minds aren't already blown, get ready. We'll be right back to wrap things up and share some final thoughts on this incredible journey into the world of LLMs. We're back, and I don't know about you, but all that talk about the future of LLMs, it's a lot.
It really is.
I mean, on one hand, all these possibilities, it's incredibly exciting,
Yeah,
But then there's this other side. It's a little, I don't know, intimidating.
it makes sense to feel that way.
It's like we're standing on the edge of something completely new, and we don't know what's out there.
It's a new frontier.
It really is. So as we wrap up this whole deep dive series, I think it's important to step back,
Yeah,
not just focus on the tech stuff, but really consider, like, the impact, the big questions.
the big questions.
What kind of world are we building with all this? What role do we want LLM to play?
It's the thing we need to be thinking about now.
Because these decisions we're making, they're shaping the future.
They really are.
So where do we even begin with all this?
I think the first step is recognizing that LLMs, as amazing as they are tools.
Tools, yeah.
Like any tool, they can be used in different ways, for good or for bad.
It depends on us.
It does, on how we develop them, how we use them.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about the people behind it.
Exactly. Our intentions, our values.
We need to be really thoughtful about how we apply this technology.
We do.
Prioritize fairness, transparency, make sure development is accountable.
And we need to have open conversations with everyone about the benefits and the risks.
Like, the classic example, a hammer. You can build a house with it, or you can use it to break things,
It's the same tool,
but the outcome depends on the person holding it.
and that's why it's so important to have different perspectives involved in all of this.
Oh, yeah.
Not just engineers and scientists. We need ethicists, policymakers, everyday people.
Everyone needs a seat at the table.
Exactly. We need to work together to make sure these technologies are used responsibly.
So as we wrap up this whole deep dive into the world of LLMs, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say this. The future of LLMs, it's not set in stone.
Yeah.
It's not something that's just happening to us. We're creating it. All of us.
So we have a responsibility.
We do. Stay informed, stay engaged, ask the tough questions.
Because the future of LLMs, it's a reflection of our choices.
It really is.
And on that note, a huge thank you to all of you, our amazing listeners, for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of LLMs.
We hope you've learned a lot.
We hope you've been challenged, inspired, and maybe even a little bit scared.
A healthy dose of awe is never a bad thing.
Exactly. Keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep those questions coming. Because the future, it's in our hands.